So, as part of the Indiegogo fundraiser for Elan Vital, my band's second and final album, I'm giving away the guitar that I used to record all of those songs. And this guitar was with me since the beginning of that band, and kind of was the formative idea behind the band. It's a 12-string guitar that I, for some reason, keep stringed as an 11-string, and I actually broke one other string, so it's a 10-string at the moment. But yeah, it is a very cool sound. Pink Floyd, you may recognize that. That's a 12-string sound. Uh, this guitar has seen a lot of action throughout the years. It did the recording sessions. It did all of our concerts. It's a legend in my book, and it actually has lived quite a life. This thing went to Spain with me when I lived there in 2004 for a study abroad program in Barcelona, and when I was there, one day I was out playing it in the park, and this guy came up and sat next to me and asked me if I would play him a song in Spanish, and I said yeah, and I played a song, and then he asked if he could play one. I was like, yeah, sure, and I handed him the guitar, and he instantly gets up and leaves with the guitar, and I like look around and I jump up, and suddenly I realize I'm surrounded by like 10 kids, and guys holding the guitar, and all these kids are holding sticks, and I'm like, give me my guitar back, come on, let's just give it back. And he says, no, no. And he gets up in my face and like, threatens me basically. And so I grab the guitar, and he grabs into my pocket, and he grabs the camera that was in my pocket. In 2004, I had a card camera. You may not remember what those were, but they were like tiny little digital cameras, real early on digital camera. And it meant a lot to me at that time because it was like new tech, and like I was studying abroad. And he grabs it, and we're wrestling with that and the guitar. And I pull the guitar away, and he runs off with the camera. And I'm looking back at my guitar case, holding the guitar, and 10 kids running away. And I just like, and I race after them. And I get to the end of the park, and I can't tell where they went. And a lady says, they went that way in Spanish. And I follow her directions, and I go, and I'm like, they probably went in the subway. So I ran down into the subway, and I asked the teller, it's like, did kids run past here? And he says, yes. And so I pay, and I go down in the turnstile, and I go through, and uh, there he is, standing in the middle of the track, and a train is coming, and I run up to him, and he hops on the train, and I hop on the door behind him. Then he hops off, so I hop off. Then he hops back on, and I hop back on, and we're just like playing this cat and mouse game, and and finally he lodges himself in the doors as they close, and he's going to pull himself out, pull himself in, and I do the same, and he pulls himself in, so I pull myself in, and I go to the same car that he's in, and I start trying to get people to help me here. I'm like, this guy stole my camera, but my Spanish wasn't that good, and people weren't understanding what I was trying to say, until suddenly, standing up from behind me, comes up my roommate, this Japanese woman who speaks fluent Spanish, who's also living with the family that I'm living with out there, Yoko. She comes up and she says, Brandon, what's wrong? And I tell her, and so she exclaims in perfect Spanish to everyone on the train, you know, that this has happened. And this big guy gets up and says, give him back his camera. And so the guy laughs, and he like hands me back the camera, and the camera's broken. Well, at least the back plate of it is broken, which is kind of the main aspect of the card camera, was this big screen that was on it. And but I run from there back, and my guitar case is still there. My guitar is fine. I've got the camera. I continue to take photos on the camera for another month until me and some friends go and we hitchhike through France into Italy. We get to Italy, and we go to Cinque Terre, which is 5 cities that have no car access. You have to walk between them. And the second city, there's like this castle on the side of the ocean, and all these waves are crashing up against it, and it's super dangerous. And there's this one this one doorway that has stairs down to like an empty window out into the ocean. And it seems like someone just like forgot to put a door there or like cross tape or something that should be keeping people from going in there. And yet, we went down there to take a photo of it, right? And as we're doing this, 22-year-olds doing this wall of water rogue wave hits the wall, and this huge amount of water comes up at us, knocking us down, pulling us down the stairs. I'm like 5 or 10 stairs away from falling to my death, 80 feet or so down to rocks and endless crashing waves. And I'm pressing the walls, trying to stop. And right before the end of it, I, I, right before the end of it, I drop down, and I can stop myself, and I've stopped my buddy, and we crawl our way up, and we're completely soaked, and we get back, a couple days later, and I download the photos, onto my computer because I couldn't look at them, and the last photo on there, from the camera was dead, and the last photo on there was just bubbles. It was literally a full frame of the wall of water that was coming at me before it hit me and nearly killed me, and so yeah, that's kind of the epic Spain saga that this guitar lived through, and it's on our Indiegogo fundraiser there if you want to get this piece of rock history here and pick it up for yourself. But thanks for listening.